I experienced something that I have not felt in a long, long time today. I felt cold. It was cold this morning when I arrived in San Francisco. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's James Ham. We're the Insiders. We're hanging out with you until noon. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. I'm doing the show live from San Francisco today because I'm doing 49ers postgame here at 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. And so instead of driving from my home in the Bay Area out to Roseville and then all the way down to San Francisco, I'm just going to be here all day. And when I got off of the train this morning and walked up onto the street, it was cold and it felt so great. I have not experienced cold in months.
That's why I wear sweaters now. Just in case it happens.
Just to fake it?
Just in case it happens to me. It eventually will happen to me where I'm cold, and I want to be prepared, Kyle.
Yeah, no, I guess. But for me, it's like, it's not the sweatshirt. It's not the bomber jacket that I'm wearing that brings it. It's just, no, it's like feeling cold on my face while I was walking. I don't know when the last time was that I felt that. Like, what, March? Maybe?
All right.
It's been a long time. It was exhilarating. As is today. Tons to get into. The Kings played a preseason basketball game last night. James and I have a ton of takeaways from that, and I'm sure you do as well. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. That's the Elk Grove Kia talk line if you want to jump in and talk some Kings. We'll also talk a ton of 49ers because the 49ers Super Bowl hopes ride on this game tonight. Not their Super Bowl hopes, but their chances to contend for a Super Bowl. We'll tell you all about that. But let's start with the Kings. 122-112 loss last night to Golden State at the Golden One Center. But James, I thought there was more good than bad, especially since really you're only looking at the first half of that game, and the Kings did win the first half thanks to a 41-point second quarter. Overall, what was your big takeaway from last night?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting watching the first half. I mean, that's all that really matters in this game. You want to see what the young players look like. You want to give them some game action. But I would caution people to remember that the Golden State Warriors have already played a preseason game, and that might not seem like it matters, but this early in camp, it does matter. And so to have your team go up against a team that hasn't played yet is kind of a big deal. And so I liked what I saw overall from the Sacramento Kings. Anytime you give up 28 3-pointers, there's clearly something wrong that you have to fix. Well, actually 28 makes from three. The Golden State Warriors, if that was a regular season game, the storied Warriors with some of the greatest shooters, probably the two best shooters we've ever seen in the history of the NBA, their franchise record was 27, and they hit 28 in a preseason game.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so absolutely ridiculous. But the fact that you were able to stay in a game where you got outscored by 60 from the three-point line is pretty impressive, especially that first half where, they lead 68-66. Some of the bigger takeaways is I believe that DeMar DeRozan will shoot 100% from the field for the entire season. He doesn't miss.
Can we just stick on DeMar DeRozan for a second?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Nothing that happened last night was out of the ordinary or different.
Nope.
Right? Like he didn't do any. It was hilarious though how many of those were just vintage DeMar DeRozan. There's a defender on him. He's standing 15 feet from the basket. He has picked up his dribble. That defender is in his jersey with a hand up in his face, playing perfect defense. Doesn't matter.
Yep. From
the elbow, you want it there? Bucket. You want a baseline behind the basket? Bucket. Wherever he was pulling up, it was, and then corner three, sure, why not? And the thing, obviously, he's not going to shoot 100% for the year. I'm confident in saying that. You can mark that, Jesse. Cut that take. I don't think DeMar DeRozan is going to shoot 100% for the year, but I think it was just a glimpse into why the Kings brought him in.
Oh yeah,
because having a player that just in a spot, hey, tight game down the stretch, 2 minutes left, down one. DeMar DeRozan is going to get to his spot, and there's just not a lot of defense for it. He's either going to make or miss. The Warriors played really good defense on him in multiple spots last night. It just didn't matter. Smaller defender, bucket. Taller defender, bucket. And that to me was the really exciting thing. And it's not even that he did anything different. It was just Nope, that's DeMar. He's still DeMar DeRozan, it turns out.
Yeah, that's who he is. And I think it's interesting because we get to see what he looks like with the current Kings roster. And while we're still missing some pieces here, you're watching what this will look like, where you cannot double team DeMar DeRozan. And like, look, what did he have? 1 assist and no rebounds. We just saw like just the offensive version. This is just like, hey, roll the ball out there. We're not calling any play sets. We're going to run base offense, and whatever you feel like the defense is giving you, just go for it. It's just a flow offense, right? And I thought that that's one of the most like impressive things, where you're just watching a team who's learning each other like on the fly. And how does a major piece like this fit in? And the fact is, he fits in perfectly. And again, there's no way to double him. The Kings have too much firepower in that starting lineup, and there's too much attention that goes towards Domantas Sabonis. There's too much attention that goes towards De'Aaron Fox. DeMar DeRozan is going to have whatever he wants all season long, and that's just kind of the way it's going to be because of the strength of the Kings offense.
I want to get to Domas too, but it felt to me like De'Aaron last night was, and we talked about this yesterday, how what we might see in the preseason opener, or maybe throughout the preseason, is going to be really like DeMar centric. And I think the shot distribution was really good last night. But did you feel like this might have just been me because I was believing this was going to happen, so I was confirming my biases? But did it feel like De'Aaron was taking a little bit of a backseat last night?
Yeah,
like he was letting the game kind of play out and not necessarily trying to assert himself into it.
Yeah, like even when I wrote my 6 quick thoughts, I said he was coasting, and that's okay. Yeah. Like it's what you expect. Yeah. I think De'Aaron is a feel player, and he wanted to get a feel for what this is going to look like and pick his spots. And also, like, look, in game 1 of preseason, you're not going to go hard to the basket like 6 times in a row, and he could have done it at any time he wanted. You saw him just like shake Podziemski or whoever was on him. It didn't matter. Just totally shook him again and again and got to whatever spot on the floor he wanted. He just, like, there's no reason to push it. There's no reason to get hurt. And really there was no play calls. There was no, set offense at all. So you're just kind of like milling around and doing your thing. And I thought he was perfectly fine. Like his productivity was perfectly fine for a guy who's just like easing into his season with a couple of new players. Yeah, that was a thing I expected to see that I don't expect to see moving forward. No, like once they iron out exactly what this is going to look like, I don't expect that to continue to be the case. But again, it's not like he didn't do anything last night. I think he put up 6 shots, 7 shots, whatever it was. Can we talk about Domas? Okay. The 15-footer as the trailer. Cash? He was leading the break, wasn't he? Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. You're right. The break and just it was a stop and pop 3. Stop and, or free throw line jumper. Yeah, stop and pop free throw line jumper. Like, what did we just see? Insane. Yeah, insane. And that was he 3 for 3 on mid-range jumpers? I think 3 for 4, maybe 3 for 4. He might have missed one. He did miss one. He hit one like 16-footer, 18-footer on each of the like sort of the baselines. And I super impressed because there was no hesitation at all. You're just like, man. Oh no, what was that? Like, holy cow, he pulled up and just nailed a jumper. Yeah. Yeah, and didn't like you said, it's the I don't want to this is where you have to walk the line between like overreacting to preseason and not. But the fact that he was able to do that and willing to do that, and it's not just that he made them, right? It's a make or miss league. I've often said that. I don't care if you miss, but like, are you confidently stepping into that jumper? Oh yeah. And he did. It wasn't, how many times have we seen Domas, whether it's on the 3-point line or in the mid range, catch it and look, or maybe start to shoot and then put it on the deck. And he's not really decisive in exactly what he's doing. It was catch, shoot. And if that's it, we talked so much about the 3-point attempts. He didn't shoot a 3 last night. I mean, we've talked so much about that. But honestly, I'll take mid-range for now. Oh, yeah. If that's where he needs to get comfortable first and then start backing up, like that's what Chris Bosh did, right? When he went to Miami. He was like a long 2 mid-range guy
with Toronto, and then they went, hey, if you take one step backwards, your shot is now worth 3 points.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm expecting to see. But if that's where it's got to start, a version of the Kings offense, there's a ton of Domas stuff that we can dig into with what they're doing with him. But that small thing by itself alters a lot of how teams have to defend the Kings, because now he doesn't even have to hit them at the clip that he did last night. It's just the threat of it, pulling a defender out away from the basket. Now, hey, maybe he puts it on the deck and maybe he goes around him. Maybe now there's an open back cut. It was not a thing I was expecting to see, but it was outside of DeRozan's start, 6 for 6 and 1 of 1 from 3. The Domas jumpers were the biggest takeaway for me last night.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because nothing felt out of the flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing felt forced. It's like, it's what you've always wanted him to do, and he hadn't done. And, it's not that he never shoots a mid-range jumper, but you're right, Kyle. There's always this little hesitation. You can see him thinking, and that seems to have gone away. And if you can get that to carry over, again, make, miss, you want him to shoot 50, something percent on those shots, right? Any mid-range jump shot is not a good shot as far as like advanced statistics. Like most mid-range jumpers for like an average NBA player going about 40% of the time, right? And so 40% of the time they're worth 2 points. So they're worth 0.8 points per possession, right? Where a corner three, where you're shooting 40%, is also worth that 0.4, but 0.4 times 3, so 1.2 shots per possession, right? A basket at the rim is 60%, so 1.2 shots per possession. So most teams try to avoid the mid-range. I think the Kings are going to live in the mid-range this year. I think we're going to see sort of what the San Antonio Spurs did like 4 years ago, where look at how good De'Aaron Fox is in the mid-range. If you can get Sabonis good in the mid-range, and then you can get DeMar DeRozan in the mid-range. But that's also why, if you looked how effective the Kings offense was, how they didn't pull away, because on the other end, they're giving up 1 3-pointer after another. So it didn't matter how effective they were. One team was putting up 3 points every time, and one team was putting up 2. And so you've got to figure that out. You've got to figure out the defensive side. But I thought we saw Domas like at, what do you have, 9 rebounds, 8 rebounds? Incredible. I think the assists will skyrocket in this offense.
Yeah.
I think his we'll get into Keegan Murray a little bit, but there were 2 plays in particular where this is going to happen all season, where teams switch a smaller guy onto Keegan Murray because they think they can. Because, like, look, what's he going to do? He's going to shoot a 3-pointer most of the time. And then Keegan just like took the bigger man, the smaller guy, right to the basket. Domas threw the ball up and over the top, and Keegan Murray caught and finished at the rim twice. It's like, if that's a new wrinkle that they haven't been able to show before, and you have the center who can make that pass, which most teams don't. It just, again, all of the ways in which Keegan Murray can be effective without like having to be some ridiculous go hunt for shots type guy. Like there are a lot of ways in which you can be really, really effective. And the other guy who I found using the Domas sort of ability to pass was Jalen McDaniels. He missed all of his shots, but Domas kept finding him for these crazy backdoor cuts and stuff. And again, it's a variant on what you're seeing from Keegan Murray. Like Keegan Murray's going down the middle of the lane, catching the ball and going up. I thought that McDaniels moved really well without the ball. He just didn't finish around the rim, and like he just couldn't. I think he finished 1 for 7 from the field. Wasn't great.
I'm worried about our guy Jalen.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a little concerned.
Someone went out and cloned Mo Harkless and put him in a Kings jersey, and you're like, hey, is that Mo Harkless? I mean, he looks just like Mo Harkless on the court. It's uncanny.
It's one preseason game. I want to get to the mid-range stuff here in a second. But on Jalen McDaniels specifically, it's one preseason game. Maybe this changes throughout the year, but to me right now, he's a little bit better version of Kessler Edwards, in that if he has to play 12 minutes, I think you're okay with it. If Kings have injuries or the schedule dictates that, oh man, they're a little short-handed tonight or whatever, and he has to play 12 to 15 minutes for a week, you're probably okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this idea that, oh man, there's untapped potential and he's going to, I didn't see anything last night that just made me think, oh man, this guy, just get him in this system and he's going to start flying. I think he's just kind of is who he is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping that he settles in, he gets comfortable, and he hits his corner threes, and then a couple of back cuts here and there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, he is long and athletic, and he can play multiple positions. I don't know that he's like a lockdown 1 through 4 defender. I don't think he is, but I at least think that he can be a disruptive force, and especially with his wingspan, it's what you're looking for. Teams throw guys like this at De'Aaron Fox all the time, and in a game, if Steph were to be like Steph and start going crazy, I might want to switch a guy onto him that 6'8" with a huge
just a different look.
Yeah, just a different look. And so I think having players like that, it's valuable. You just need him to figure out where he fits in the world, and then to be productive. Like, try to be a star in your role. Don't try to be a star.
Yeah, and that's where. And you mentioned Steph, but I mean, you can say that about Kyrie Irving, Luka, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. There's so many. That's 2 teams, but there's a ton of guys in the West that having a player like that, where, man, can you go give us 8 minutes on this guy?
Yeah.
Can you pause? Can you give us 8 minutes on the court and defending this guy a little bit, making things a little bit uncomfortable? It could definitely be a thing. I just tough night for Jalen McDaniels to start his Kings tenure, but just night 1 of the preseason. I want to go back to the mid-range conversation real quick, because I think things have gotten sideways with the mid-range jumper in basketball discourse.
Okay.
There's something in this studio making noise, and it is super distracting. And I don't know what it is, and I don't want to touch anything because I don't work here.
Don't touch buttons, Kyle.
Stopped. It's stopped. Okay, it's stopped.
All right.
Here we go. This is the Insiders. That's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We were talking about the mid-range jumper, and I think I saw Secure and DeBagley in the YouTube chat say that the Kings were 13 of 18 on middies last night.
Yeah, if they're going to be 13 of 18 from the mid-range, they're going to win every game.
So so this is it. The mid-range jumper inherently, like in a vacuum, is not a bad shot. Okay. The reason the mid-range jumper got so maligned was because teams started relying on it too much, and guys were relying on it too much, where the advanced metrics revolution of 3 points is worth more than 2 points made the mid-range shot a little bit of obsolete, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, teams don't defend it. Teams are running you off the line and then trying to keep you from getting layups. And if you want to run off the line and stop and pop a shot from 16, like, teams aren't gonna adjust their defense to take that away. The only time a mid-range shot is a bad shot is when you're not making it.
Yeah.
If you have a bunch of guys, if you've got De'Aaron Fox, who's excellent in the mid-range, if you've got Keegan Murray, excellent in the mid-range, DeMar DeRozan, one of the best mid-range players we've ever seen, Domantas Sabonis shooting it like he did last night. If you're going to have that in your starting lineup, take them. Yeah, you want to run De'Aaron Fox off the line, and then try and crash. Okay, he's going to stop and pop from 15, and it's cash. And now all of a sudden, defenses are having to warp the way they defend, because the Kings are doing something a little bit different than everybody else. And I know it sounds crazy, because so much of what we've talked about with basketball over the last decade has been 3-pointers and layups. Everybody's looking for 3-pointers and layups. Well, hey, there's an entire area of the floor that just doesn't get guarded. And if you can hit shots at 72% as a team from there, that means it's a great shot. And I absolutely think they should be working for those.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I mean, again, it is going to come down to a numbers thing. You do have to hit these shots, right?
Yes.
And that's always going to be the problem, because most of the mid-range shots, just like league-wide, players don't hit them at a high clip. And like when we're talking about like these advanced, like sort of the basics of advanced, statistics, a mid-range jump shot at 40%, if that's what you're getting, is the equivalent of fouling a free throw shooter who hits 40% of his free throws. So that's a guy who, just say one of the worst free throw shooters in the world, shoots 45% from the free throw line. That means that if you foul him and send him to the line, like the basic tenets of like advanced analytics say that he's going to score 0.9 points per free throw. I mean, per attempt on 2 free throws. Mm-hmm. So it's more advantageous to have a 45% free throw shooter at the free throw line than it is to take a mid-range jump shot. Mm-hmm. And that's where, unless you're elite at that skill, at that jump shot, then it really does become one of the worst shots in basketball. And you can see how it happens like very quickly if teams like fall into that. What you don't want to do is allow the other team to dictate what you're doing all the time.
1,000%.
Yeah. So there's going to come a point where you have to be the one who's dictating what exactly is going to happen and not be like forced to take shots that you're not comfortable with. But I'll tell you, like, let's see, the last season's stat. No, the 2022-23 season, De'Aaron Fox from 3 to 10 feet shot 55.3% from the field. And from 10 to 16 feet, he shot 49.8. Those are elite numbers for NBA players. And so if you can live in that range with 2 or 3 great shooters, that's fine. What you don't want it to be is like your whole offense.
Yeah, no, and that's not. Yeah, I didn't. That came across like I was saying they should shoot all mid range. No, you're gonna. Their offense is gonna be their offense. It's gonna be the drive and kick, the spray threes. They're gonna do all that jazz. It's gonna be the dribble handoff. But, I think if Keon Ellis drives and kicks it out to Domas, who's standing there 16 feet from the basket with nobody on him, I'd just take that.
Take the shot, man.
If De'Aaron breaks his defender down and there's a center sagging in the lane waiting to contest his shot, pull up from 15. I think when they're there, they should absolutely be taking them, especially if they're going to hit them like they did last night. And man, DeMar DeRozan was like comically good.
Oh yeah,
with it's you go back and watch it. It's just every shot was defender in his face, hand in his face. Like I said, I don't want to say I was blown away because we've seen him do it so much. It's just funny watching him do it for the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we're getting to the point where we've never seen some. I mean, again, I always talk about this. Like, there's an appreciation you have for players when you watch them every day, right? Like watching DeMarcus Cousins play every single day, like the nuances to his game, his ability to contort his body at 6'11" and 300 pounds and cut through players was just remarkable. Like, just like the agility that he had as a man that big was crazy to watch. And so you start to like develop an appreciation. I don't think there's a players I've ever like appreciated more watching on a day in and day out basis than Domantas Sabonis, right? The workman-like quality to him, the fact that he shows up every single game and gets hit in the head multiple times and just is a bruiser. Like, you appreciate it. And I think when you watch DeMar DeRozan from afar, and when you watch DeMar DeRozan come in one time a year, which is basically throughout a lot of his career, he's only played in Sacramento 1, maybe 2 times when he's playing in San Antonio. But like with Toronto and with Chicago, 1 time a year, and he busts you up for 19 points in the fourth quarter in a game. You're like, oh man, that DeMar DeRozan guy is really good. But to watch him every day and to see the work he's going to put in and the buckets that he's going to hit where you don't even know how he can see the rim, those are where you're going to have a whole new appreciation. I'm here for like appreciating someone who does something at just such an elite level and getting to watch that every single night, even if it's like as someone who's covering a team. It does, you get joy out of watching somebody do something to like perfection. It really is cool.
Yep. We'll have plenty more on the Kings preseason opener from last night against Golden State at Golden One Center. Of course, the Kings back in action tomorrow night against the Warriors again at Chase Center, and then they don't see them till January 5th.
Weird.
So whatever happens in those games, preseason or otherwise, is going to look a lot different the next time they face off. So that'll be fun to keep track of. The other thing we got going on today is a massive 49ers game up in Seattle. taking on the Seahawks. I've got I don't want to get all the way into the 49er side of this right now. It's a huge game for a bunch of reasons, which we'll get into shortly. But where are you at on the Seahawks specifically so far? Because I can't decide if they're good or not. I have no idea what to think about the Seahawks.
I know. I think you're worried that they're just good enough until they figure it all out. Before they get 100% healthy, before Kenneth Walker is there like all the time. Like they're a different team when Kenneth Walker's there. But like for me, they can really throw the ball. Like with their offense, Geno Smith like is chucking the ball all over the place. DK Metcalf has totally had like a revival. Like their young receiver was Smith and Jigba. Is just like he's having a great start to a season. Like they have a lot of talent still. I feel the same way. They just kind of feel like a 9-8 team, and that's not what they're playing like right now. A little bit better than that, but that's what they kind of feel like. And the 49ers just like are lost in the woods a little bit. And I think more than anything else, you kind of know what Seattle is. You're just wondering, like, is there a ceiling to how, where they go? And I think there is, where I don't think there's a ceiling for the Niners.
Well, like part of me goes, well, Seattle's beat the Broncos. They beat the Patriots in overtime, and they beat the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson starting at quarterback. Sorry, Jesse.
Oh,
and I didn't mean to bring up an old game. But that's like their win. But then you go look at the Niners schedule, and it's like, well, hey, they should have 2 wins like that too against the Cardinals and the Rams, and they lost those games. So I can't like you can sit and look at the Seahawks schedule and talk about how it's not been great, but on the other hand, but they took care of business against the teams that are worse than them, which is more than the 49ers can say.
So, no, I totally agree.
I
just don't think that there's a lot of separation between the two at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll dive into that next. This is a huge game for the 49ers. We'll tell you why coming up, and then we'll have plenty of more stuff for the Kings. I want to talk about Keegan Murray and some of the bad stuff from last night. Is it worth worrying about, or is it just a matter of preseason? We'll get into all of that on the Insiders. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're hanging out with you until noon here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Center.
Clear. I hear myself like way off in the distance.
The video sounds bad?
Who says that? We sound bad on the stream?
My audio might.
You want to turn your mic down a little bit, Carl?
Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, all right.
Is that better? Better? How about now?
Yeah,
now?
Yeah, you sound good. To me, I don't know about Jesse.
As long as I sound good to James, that's all I care about.
There it is. It's almost like I hear myself coming through your headphones.
Like that might be the case.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Wait, now I'm quiet on the stream?
Uh-oh.
What the fuck?
That's funny.
The great Tim Jordan's here. He's going to help me. Hang on.
All right. He got the flannel memo. He could come up here and do a show with us in our flannels, Kyle. What's going on, everybody? Hello. Sweet. Dr. David, I can't take control of these situations. I don't touch buttons. I have 2 guys who have produced shows forever. Hello, Rustdog. They touch the buttons. Yeah, Magic Man, we're working out this situation. Sorry. They ordered some parts. Something broke somewhere. Like getting a radio show on the actual radio is like so many components, and something went bad. I didn't know it was bad. Jason Anderson actually told me that the station was quiet because in my car, I listen to a different feed. I have like the HD feed or whatever, which is different. No, Spencer, I do not believe that DeMar DeRozan will be the MVP, but you never know. What's up, Scooter? I'm glad you enjoyed my 6 quick thoughts.
God, these people, man.
These people.
I guess. Somebody asked if I was drinking fall coffee drinks yet. I probably should have today, but I did not.
I'm getting ready for the coffee apocalypse here at the station.
There's just no way they don't have a plan.
I
don't want to get into specifics on the stream. There's just no way they don't have a plan.
They don't have a plan, and I'm not going to have coffee. I guarantee it, Kyle.
I was telling Casey yesterday, the plan before used to be just have the engineers do it, but those guys are always busy. So,
hey,
ordering
I'm gonna
stuff.
They were just always the utility guys.
That's how it is here. That's the guy Tim who was just in here, who's a G, by the way. Love Tim Jordan. That's what he was, that guy for us. It was just, if you need anything, just go ask Tim.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean,
so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into Aaron's office, the tribal chief. I'm going to go in there tomorrow. I'm going to be like, hey, man, you're doing the coffee orders now, right?
That's right. Just tell him, because James is very concerned about whether he's getting free coffee every day. And if he's not, he's going to be angry.
I have a co-host who is about to have a conniption.
Yes. The worst is when you have to like go in and drink the bad coffee. All right, we're coming back. Go ahead and go.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
There was no rejoinder. It was just music. I'm like, hey, there's music.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting for the voice track guy to come in. Never happened.
That's my bad. I see. This is where. So, hi everybody. That's James. I'm Kyle. I'm in San Francisco today because of some other stuff I'm doing for our sister station 95.7 The Game, and I'm bad at explaining things to people, and I dropped the ball on getting the intro stuff ready.
Oh,
so
no,
that's on me. It's my bad. We're here. We're vibing. We're talking Kings preseason. We've got a huge 49er game tonight. And that's what I want to talk about right now. Okay, I know I'm always dramatic, but I'm gonna do it again here because I think for real this time, I think this is the case. I think the 49ers' chances of being a Super Bowl contender ride on tonight's game.
Oh.
And I say that because, and it sounds alarmist, right? Because it's week 6. There's 18 more weeks. They could lose tonight. They'd be 2-4. If they win out, they're 13-4 and they'll have a chance. Sure. Yeah, mathematically, sure. But let's be realistic. If they lose tonight, they're 2-4 overall, 0-4 in the NFC, and 0-3 in their division. The chances that they would hold no tiebreakers at that point, because you figure the team that they are up against for the 1 seed right now is Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Minnesota's 5-0 and holds the tiebreaker over the Niners. So the Niners would need Minnesota if the 49ers go 13-4. They would need Minnesota to finish 12-5, which means after a 5-0 start, they would need Minnesota to go 7-5. And I don't see that happening. So their margin for error is just so slim right now. And if you can't go in to Seattle, again, not a bad team. We're not talking about the freaking Carolina Panthers here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad football team, but the 49ers haven't done anything this year that makes you think, oh yeah, no, they're going to be fine. Like they have margin for error. They can go lose this game and be okay. Like, no, they've burnt that margin for error. Just torched it. Threw it up in flames with their 10-point leads in the fourth quarter against the Rams and Cardinals. So now you have to go in, and now the 49ers are at a point for me where it's like, you got to prove it to me, man. I'm done. The last 5 seasons were nice. That's great. But you've got to prove that you can do it this year. and not against the Jets in week 1, and not against the Patriots, who might be worse than the Panthers, to be honest, and not against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go win a division game on a short week against a division opponent that is 3-2 and has been playing pretty good football this year? If you can do that, great. Back on track. Everything's not great, but you're a little more stable. You feel a little bit better. You go lose this game tonight?
Yeah, if you lose this game tonight, you're in trouble because you then get the Kansas City Chiefs, the other undefeated team in the NFL, coming off a bye week. And then it's like, okay, that's not a good place to be in at all. And I get what you're saying. I mean, I think that the Niners can get to the Super Bowl, and I think they can win a Super Bowl without being the number 1 seed. But the path there is just so much more difficult, right? You're just creating this like this alternate universe where like you're going to have to go beat really, really good teams at their home field. And, you know, again, a team like Detroit, I want no part of going to Detroit for a playoff game. Like that is a good team, and their fans
get smoked.
Yeah, their fans are like really, really engaged. Like this is like you want the path of least resistance, and that's to have everyone come to you. I think that's already out the window for the 1 seed. I think you can like this team can still be a 2 seed, but I don't think they're catching Minnesota at this point, especially with them having, you know, what you're talking about, where they've already lost to Minnesota. So not only do you have to beat Minnesota, but you have to have them lose more games, like one more game than you do, because they have the tiebreaker. So it's a mess, man.
So let's do this. Here's a fun thing. So I tend to if San Francisco, and again, I'm not saying they will, we're talking hypotheticals. Let's just go to the world real quick where the 49ers finish 12-5. And let's say they're the number 2 seed behind Minnesota. So they get home games up until the conference title game at that point. Let's say everything shakes out the same. So in round 1, they would host Tampa Bay. Round 2, they would host, if the seeding stays the same, they would host like Detroit, I think. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the moral of the story is they would have to visit Minnesota in the NFC title game, a place they haven't won since 1992.
Oh yeah, that's a fun fact. Forgot about that one.
So this just the more this builds out, and again, weird things happen in the NFL. Injuries happen, upsets happen, things shake out, and
Darnold could turn into a pumpkin.
Sure, right. So many. How many times last year did people look at the Chiefs and the way the Chiefs were playing and go, "Man, this just isn't their year. They don't have the receivers. Not even Patrick Mahomes can save this group." Like, and then they go win the Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
Like things happen. So that's why we watch. That's why we're engaged. But when you're trying to kind of flesh this out and make predictions or project, it's like, man, there is no path this year for the 49ers, no path to contention where you're like, there's the easy route. They need to get to spot X, and they're in a great spot. Like, nah, man, they've A, not played well enough, and B, put themselves so far behind the 8 ball record wise and within their conference and within their division that everything's going to be hard now. And you're already dealing with the Super Bowl hangover thing. So losing a Super Bowl and then winning it the next year is not impossible, but has been done like once since the 1970s. It's a really hard thing to do to begin with. And then you start looking at all of the things that are stacked up against them. And we haven't even talked about the Christian McCaffrey injury, which somebody, I think it was Patrick brought up he said Niners Super Bowl hopes ended with Christian McCaffrey's injury not being a minor thing. Yeah, maybe that's a major factor in this. So they're in a really, really tough spot no matter what. But on the other hand, they lose tonight. I've mentioned all the fallout from that. If they win, they're 3-3 and first in the NFC West and in the 4 seed in the NFC. And all of a sudden you start going, okay, can you upset the Chiefs? They might even be favored against Kansas City, depending on how Thursday goes. But can you beat the Chiefs for the first time in forever? And can you then you beat the Cowboys and be 5-3 going into the bye?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, okay, the conversation is a lot different. But right now, man, it's really hard to not feel like the sky is not about to collapse.
Yeah, and you talked about like the easiest pathway, like to like being a number 1 seed. It may have already passed because the easiest pathway was to just take care of business against what has turned out to be a bad Rams team and a mediocre Cardinals team. That was your path, and it was to go 4-1 at this point in the season with 1 loss to the Vikings, if that's what happened, and then like you got a couple of losses along the way here that you can withstand. If you don't beat Kansas City, it's not the end of the world. Like at that point, you would be 4-2 heading into Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Now, like you're hoping and praying that somehow you can get to your bye week at 5-3, but more realistic is 4-4. And there's a possibility of it being worse than that, of being 3-5.
If you gave me right now, the Niners could be 4-4 at their bye week, I would take it.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't to go to Seattle. I don't know how good the Cowboys are, but they're at least on the same level as the 49ers, if not a little better so far this year. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They just got the 49ers number. So if you gave me 4-4, they go 2-1 in their next 3, I would take that 100%.
Okay.
I wouldn't even mess around and try to get to 5-3. I need to clarify something. I have one more thought on this, but I need to clarify something. Maybe you said this. I don't think you did. I definitely didn't say this. I don't think either of us predicted the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl.
No.
I tried to be abundantly clear that I was talking hypotheticals.
Yeah, you were saying if the Niners got to the NFC Championship
game
if
everything
the
shook
Vikings
out this way.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings still have to win. The Vikings are, I mean, they've had hot starts before and then flame out. And like
the Vikings,
they look really good though.
The Vikings right now, like there's a chance that the Vikings would have to, if the standing state, again, this is if the standing state is the same, they won't. But there's a chance that Minnesota has to like play Detroit in the divisional round.
Oh.
Or Dallas or Green Bay or Philly. Like that, there's a chance that by the time January rolls around, Minnesota's just going to run into a really, really tough matchup in that first round. Or in their first round, if they get the first round bye.
Well, and just remember back to last season where, we started talking about teams of destiny after 4 and 5 weeks, and it was the Niners and the Miami Dolphins. Like, and where the Dolphins went from there. Like, there's nothing that says the Vikings are going to hold up at all. I mean, that's Sam Darnold easily could like regress, but he could also get hurt. And then what? Like, what are they doing then?
Nick Mullins, baby.
Nick Mullins. Yep. Just run out a whole bunch of former 49er backup quarterbacks. See how it goes.
Here's something I was thinking about with San Francisco. And this is what's been, this is something I've been trying to put my finger on for a while. And I think I've got it. I was trying to decide why I thought this team stunk so bad. And maybe they just do. Like maybe they're a 7-10 team and we're not seeing it yet. But they get enough benefit of the doubt from me, given their roster and their recent history, that it's like, okay, you can hang around in a way that other 2 and 3 teams don't. The Bengals, I'm still in on the Bengals, are 1-4. I think we have to recalibrate what our expectations are of what a good version of this Niners team looks like. Because in my head, I've been going, man, they have to look like they did in 2019 or 2021 or 22 or 23, where they had this really, really good defense. And this offense, there was run first and it was a lot of yards after the catch. It's like, hey man, there's not a version of this Niners team that's going to be a top 5 defense. Top 10 even. There may not be a version of this Niners team that's top half. That's out the window. And a version of this Niners team that features a ton of yak and they're running the ball first and Brock Purdy's, pushing the ball down the field some, but it's largely just kind of managing the game. And that's not going to be there this year. If they're going to win, if they're going to be really good, if they're going to turn this thing around and be a team that is a playoff team and a potential contender, it's going to probably be winning a lot of shootouts, winning a lot of, 30-27 type games. that's kind of what I think is ahead. And that's what's been difficult, because we've seen the Niners be so good for the last 5 years being a very specific type of team. And that type of team is just not there anymore. And if that's what they're hoping to be, then they're going to be in for a long year. I think the best version of this Niners team's got to look a lot different than it did even as recently as last year.
I think it's tough because what you're saying realistically is that Kyle Shanahan has to do something that I don't think he's capable of. And that is like going in the garage, pulling out the wrench and taking the training wheels off and saying, go run up the score. Go dominate offensively. Offensively, we're not going to mess around. Go do it now. This is who we are. This is who we have to be. Brock, I need you to throw for 5,000 yards. I need you to throw for 35 touchdowns. And I need it now. Like, there is no more waiting around. There is no more I'm the smartest guy in the room offense. It's time to bomb and time to go out there and just put so much pressure on the opposing team that, that's our way to win. Because you're right, Kyle. I mean, this defense, they're not there. I mean, you've got two great defensive players, and then there's really at this point they're waiting to see if
mid to actively bad.
Yeah. I mean,
Diamador Lenoir's a good player.
Yeah, but I just can't. The Devontae Campbell thing, I just can't get past. And
Devondre even.
Yeah. Sorry, the fact that he's just like so bad at like doing what we're so used to seeing, Dre Greenlaw do, and then to walk into the season and have the whole middle of your line just go away. I mean, they're in a bad spot, and they haven't been active enough to go try to replace some of these pieces already. That's something that they should already be on the phone doing. But at the end of the day, like, look, if you're okay just being mediocre this season and wasting a year of all of these guys' careers, that's kind of where we're at. Like, you're in a bad spot. Your record is dictating that you don't just have to be aggressive, like, on the field. You've got to be aggressive to go find better players, like right now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a Super Bowl hopeful, then go act like it, And that's, again, every year in the NFL is different, and you got to figure out different ways to win. This team here, like, the way for them to win is to just go bonkers on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's where a lot of this hinges. If they make a major move, if they make some massive trade and they trade a first round pick or a second round pick or whatever, and they shore up some parts of their defense, okay, then we can recalibrate our expectations then. Because right now it's Fred Warner, it's Nick Bosa, it's Diamador Lenoir, and then like Travarius Ward's been okay. But outside of that, like, all right, hey, they can improve at every spot.
No, totally.
They can get better at genuinely like every spot. So Malik Collins been good too, but just not the depth isn't there the way we've seen. Honestly, the way we're talking about them right now, it kind of feels like the 2022-23 Kings.
Okay.
Like the version of the best version of the 49ers that you just laid out is like your quarterback throwing for 5,000 yards and they're running up scores and he's got 35, he's throwing for 35 touchdowns or however many. Like, that's kind of, and I just don't think you can win like that in the NFL. You might be able to win some regular season games. You might be able to make the playoffs if you're doing that. But in the postseason, there's going to be a game where you're held to 17 points.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you respond defensively to that? In the past, you felt okay. Like, yeah, man, they're going to get a team in third and long. They're going to get off the field. They're going to get a big stop. And if that's the version of the Niners that they're going to be, if they're going to have to be, and I totally agree with you, that's what they would have to be good this year. With their present roster construction, that's a divisional round exit, like, waiting to happen.
Well, it is, but I think the key would be that's how you start collecting wins now. And in the meantime, you're doing everything you can to get your defense better. And, whatever that means, whether that means going out and making some trades. Someone brought up Devin White, who got cut earlier.
Can I just on Devin White real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel very passionately about this.
Okay.
Devin White stinks at football. He is bad. Do you know how bad you have to be? The Phillies linebackers also stink at football. NFL football, caveat, all-time great athletes in the sense of a normal human, bad NFL players. Devin White couldn't get on the field for the Eagles. He's not the answer for the 49ers.
Yeah,
I'd way rather the 49ers have 4 dudes on their roster right now that I would rather play than Devin White.
Okay.
Anyways.
They've got 4 guys, and one of those guys is currently you'd rather have him playing? I don't know. I want to see.
Would I rather have Devondre Campbell than Devin White? Ooh.
I want to see anyone play other than Campbell.
Yeah, but it's like D. Winters. They re-signed Jalen Graham, Tatum Bethune. They drafted in the 7th round. I'd rather see all those dudes over Devondre Campbell and Devin White.
Okay.
Yeah, man. But they gotta make moves.
No, they do. They're in a situation where, look, you're squandering a season, and you don't have a bunch of these seasons left with this group. We talked about this might be the last year for this group. I mean, Trent Williams is 35 years old, whatever it is. You need 35, 36. Every time I think I know how old he is, I'm off by a year.
Yeah, 100% same. Trent Williams is 36 years old. He just turned 36.
Yeah, so yeah, it's wild. So I mean, but my point is that look, you don't have time to waste. This team, as it's currently constructed, it will fall apart relatively quick, and you need to go out and support this group, because as of right now, whatever you did in the offseason wasn't enough. And that's what we talked about the Kings last year. Hey, look, this is a perfectly fine team. It's but you're not good enough. There's a problem. You have to address specific situational, specific types of players that you don't have that other teams do that you can't stop. And that's a problem. And so I feel like kind of the same way with the 49ers at this point. You can hope that a young linebacker might be able to step up and do something. You can hope that Dre Greenlaw miraculously heals faster than anyone thought and gets back on the field and is the same player somehow. Yeah. But that's a big pie in the sky, probably not going to happen thing. And so the only answer is to bring in other people to go out there and be aggressive and attack, free agent market, to, again, to work with your special teams people and say, whatever you're doing is not good enough, and try to build this thing out. Try to address whatever it is that you have, your weaknesses. You've got to figure them out, because it's just not good at this point. And you have glaring weaknesses, and I don't think they're weaknesses that you just grow out of. You have some holes.
Yep. Before we get back to the Kings, I want to very quickly. There's several Kings things we didn't hit in the first segment that I want to get back to, but other things going on last night. The Major League Baseball playoffs continued. The Mets are moving on to the NLCS.
Oh yeah,
they beat the Phillies in 4 games. Shout out to the Mets. Love an upset. Also love a lovable loser type of team. I think I'm kind of here for it. Go ahead.
They're a team that's really cranked it up, and that they got put in a situation where they were fighting for their playoff life, maybe a month earlier than the playoffs. And so I think they're still riding that momentum that they built as a team trying to fight to get into the playoffs. It's good.
Yeah. And then the Dodgers smacked the Padres 8-0. Felt like an in case you forgot game. We were having so much fun dancing on the Dodgers' grave, and they were one of the best teams in baseball this year from a record standpoint.
Yeah.
It might have been the best team in baseball from a record standpoint. I stopped following that race late in the year, but that's super. They went bullpen game. The Padres threw their game 1 starter Dylan Cease. It was shutdown time, and then bang bang 8-0. It's going back game 5 in LA. I kind of feel like if you're LA, you go bullpen game again. Why not?
Oh,
I don't think they had anybody go more than 2 innings. Use 8 pitchers.
I think we were all just thinking, oh, they're giving in, they're going bullpen game, and I mean it's how they have to play at this point. So
yeah, that's tough. It's kind of fascinating in baseball though how it feels like the rest kind of hurts teams that get the bye in the wild card round.
Yeah, it's totally bizarre.
The Yankees are so the Guardians got a bye. They're down 2-1 in their series. Game 4 is in Detroit today. The Dodgers are going to a game 5. The Phillies are out. The Yankees are the only team that got a first round bye who are leading in their series.
Mm.
I think that's exclusive to baseball.
Okay.
Maybe basketball a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think like the 1 seed waiting for the 8 seed to get through the play-in tournament. I don't think that hurts a 1 seed at all. Yeah, I mean it's just extra rest.
But if the play-in tournament, if the play-in tournament, the final game was a 3-game series,
Mhm.
and that team has to wait 4 extra days, 5 extra days,
No, that's true.
like the rest accumulates a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, baseball is
I just
such
think
a
in
rhythm
baseball,
sport.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, man. You get like a week off.
No.
Oof,
Mm-mm.
that could you can go in the batting cage all you want. You can throw a sim game all you want, a simulated game. You can even do a little inter squad scrimmage. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if
totally
baseball is going to change that at all, because it just kind of continues to be a problem,
Okay.
or if those teams are just
I don't know.
That's the one.
I'm excited to watch that. It's Dodgers Padres. It's tomorrow night, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Game
gonna be
5
that's
at
gonna be
Dodger
fun.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Ramsey too. I need Kansas City to win Game 4. I need a Game 5 at Yankee Stadium too.
Yeah, I would like to see Kansas City somehow figure that one out and upset the Yankees, but that's just because, what I don't want to see is a Dodgers Yankees World Series. I don't care what anyone else wants to see. I just don't want to see that.
Dude,
Like 2
I'm
teams
so
that just
out.
like bought it. Yeah.
I know
All
that's
right.
what baseball wants. The league definitely wants that.
Of course.
I don't think unless you're a Dodgers or Yankees fan, I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Well, I mean,
Give me something different. Give me something new.
It's just validating bad behavior by both the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor.
Yeah.
Like you're
for sure.
validating them. You're saying, oh look, see, we can't compete against those guys, so we're gonna play in like this pool where we're cheap and we don't do the right things.
Or to take our revenue sharing and go home.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Tons more King stuff to get into. We'll do that next. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insider, sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader.
What's going on, Chatty House? Did you hear Jesse say all good?
Nope.
Oh, see, I thought you could hear Jesse, and now
I thought I could. No, I can't.
Okay.
No, I just told James. I figured because you have wide over in front of you, Kyle would know.
Got it.
Jesse, when did you text me? Oh, you texted me early. Sorry, I didn't even see it. That's my bad. I'm gonna
Oh, there's a bunch of
check your G chat. I'm gonna hit JC after the show.
Okay.
He wants to do something.
Yep. Okay. I don't know who Nikki Schaefer is.
I don't either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm here. I haven't seen JC though, so I don't know if he's working from home. Maybe he's here.
I have no idea.
There was a congregation of people earlier, but he wasn't one of them. John is here.
Of course he is.
Mm-hmm.
John's the man.
A grinder. Man, I've been trying to think who Isaac Jones reminds me of, like body style, body style playability, and I'm still struggling to kind of figure it out.
This wasn't what I was saying. I don't hate on the Dodgers because they pay money to their players. I would like to see every team do that.
Yeah.
I'm bored of the Dodgers and the Yankees.
And I would say
that's all.
The Yankees, for as much as I want to,
they're really good teams.
Hate them. I do think that the Yankees have a lot of homegrown talent. Like,
Yeah,
that's something that you can appreciate. Like, their superstar teams are, while they have like, Giambi and Paul O'Neill and all these great players, but it was Bernie Williams, it was Andy Pettit, it was Posada and Jeter, and like a lot of homegrown talent.
Well, that's the thing with the Dodgers too, is part of the reason they can bring in these guys like over and over and make these big trades and excuse me, is partly because of how well they draft and develop players. They can at a trade deadline unload a bunch of prospects and then go into the next season with one of the 5 best farm systems in baseball.
Oh yeah.
And then they can keep churning out pitchers. They got a little sideways this year because of injuries. They had to probably bring guys up sooner than they wanted, but no, it's not. I don't begrudge any team that tries to win. But Tigers and Mets is way more fun from a storyline standpoint than like, oh, Dodgers, Yankees. Cool.
Okay, so I'm going through Rustog. I don't think he reminds me so much of Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell played with like crazy force. And talk about a guy who just like burned out and disappeared out of nowhere. I don't even, Montrezl Harrell can't be more than like 30. Yeah, but there's a way he moves. Like, and someone brought up the big Jalen Williams. I actually think he looks more like the other Jalen Williams. But I don't know.
Here you go. Hour number 2, that's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We are the Insiders, and we're sponsored by Jiffy Lube, hanging out with you until noon. Then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC. Having a ton of fun today. We're talking Kings, talk some Niners, a little baseball playoffs. Lots going on. Good time in the sports calendar, mid-October. But I want to get back to the Kings preseason opener because there were several things from last night's game that we did not get to. When we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Where do we want to start? Let's just start with Isaac Jones. I was gonna put that off, but let's just start there. You were trying to figure out who he reminded you of. And in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320, we've seen Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
We've seen Kenneth Fareed. I just saw his name.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we hear those names because both those guys are pretty solid rebounders, and his first real game opportunity, again, Isaac Jones played 20 minutes and had 1 rebound. Mike Brown did talk about how every single opportunity that he had to get into the crash zone, he did, which is something that the Kings are asking everybody to. They said both
the crash zone.
Yeah, both Keon Ellis and him, both like every single one of their opportunities to fly into the crash zone, they did. I don't know. I like what I see from Isaac Jones. I was talking to somebody before the game yesterday, within the walls of the organization, and they told me, hey, I think there are a couple of players who are actually going to play. A couple of the young guys are going to play this season. And I'm like, oh,
did we find out who?
Well, I brought up Isaac Jones, and it was like, okay, yeah, there's a good chance there. And I think that's who they're kind of talking about. Isaac Jones has become, Mike Brown talked about it at practice the other day, and he said that, like you're always saying maybe, like to somebody. So like when you're talking to your kids, they're like, hey, can we go to the movies? You're like, okay, maybe. And then he's like, I keep saying maybe with Isaac Jones. And he's like, but after so many maybes, there comes a point where you're like, okay, yes. He's like,
it would have been a no.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not okay. He's like, I'm not up to the yes yet, but I've said maybe so many times. that I'm getting closer and closer to yes. And he's like, so that's a really good thing for a young player who, again, picked up basketball kind of late, and like his story getting to the league is really intriguing, and ends up like trying out for a team, a junior college team, and makes it. And next thing he's like on the cusp of being an NBA player. And I've talked to people from the training staff, I've like from the what they've been able to do to build him up already. They're like, okay, yeah, like number one, he's a hard worker. Number two, like he has a frame that you can stack weight on, that you can build like very quickly. So I think there's a lot of intrigue there. Again, the crashing thing is one element that they love from him. The fact that he's 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan. It's like that guy that they keep searching for, but he's more of a 4-5 than he is like a 3-4. And I actually had a chance to talk to him last night in the locker room before the game. And I said, have you had an opportunity to like roll to the basket with Malik Monk and get one of those like big Showtime opportunities? And he just kind of smiled. He's like, I haven't yet. He's like, but I've seen it happen, and I want it to happen.
No, but I sure would like to.
I'm excited about that. But that even in itself was telling, because what it's telling me is he's not playing with the second team guys, unless Malik is playing solely with the first team, like as a rotation. Like they've got their 5 or 6 guys, and they've got their 5 starters, and then they're rotating Malik and they're rotating Alex Landon type deal, where they're not, those guys aren't playing against the starters, they're playing with the starters more. So that's possible, but I kind of want to see if he can be that guy, because this team desperately needs that. Like there isn't God bless Alex Landon is, watching him out there against the Golden State Warriors. You're just looking at him like, okay, you're taller than everyone, and you're taking full advantage of that. He finishes with almost a double-double last night.
Not the picture of elite athleticism, though.
No. He's in great shape. He knows his role. He does, he does those the things he needs to do. But what he's not
does
a
the
lob
grimy
threat.
stuff.
Yeah, he's not a lob threat. He's not JaVale McGee, right? And Malik Monk needs a JaVale McGee. Like he doesn't need JaVale McGee, but he needs a type of player like JaVale McGee. And you're hoping that one of these young guys, well, maybe it is Isaac, that Isaac Jones steps up and becomes that guy. And I don't know if that's going to be the case, but he certainly has the body type to do it. And then watching him with his back to the basket game, I was like, ooh, look at that. Like pretty.
So we can read into something. This is something I wanted to talk about with you, because you look at who played off the bench for the Kings last night. Jalen McDaniels, 21 minutes. Alex Len, 21 minutes. Isaac Jones, 20 minutes. Is that? And then Mason Jones was next with 17. So that's worth reading into, then, the fact that Isaac Jones played the second most minutes off the bench last night.
Yeah, I think it is worth reading into. And, I think the other guys, Boogie Ellis really played well. He was super confident. But, and I would also point out, Mason Jones probably would have played 20 minutes, but he fouled out. And, I mean, I don't even know how he fouled out. I thought he was checking into a game, and next thing you know, he's got a 6th foul and he's checking out. So I'm not quite sure.
6 of the Kings' 17 fouls last night.
Yeah, that's not what you want. Is like, again, for a team that keeps saying we're going to play defense, we're going to be physical without fouling, and then you have a young guy who goes out there and who's trying too hard, like realistically. So I hope that Mason Jones kind of settles down. I thought it was interesting. The Kings kept running the ball through Mason Jones. They had him bring up the ball. They had him like initiate the offense. And I was like, what exactly are we doing here? This is intriguing to watch. But then I go back to the first half, and sure enough, there's Keegan Murray dribbling the ball up the court and initiating the offense. And I think, De'Aaron kind of addressed it in post game. He said, look, our offense, all 4 guys, there are 4 positions that are completely interchangeable. The only one that's not is the center position. And so Domas does what he does. Everybody else has to do the same. They all have to know each other's job, and they all have to go down and basically anyone is allowed to bring up the ball. Anyone is allowed to initiate the offense from the top of the key, whatever it might be. It's just like, if you're the first ones down, you run to the corners. And so I think it's just kind of interesting what we're seeing is young players who, again, because of injury, probably are getting more of an opportunity throughout camp than they would ever normally. Like, you don't usually see 4 rotational pieces just like drop off the face of the earth coming into camp and can't play at all. So I think a door has opened here, and I think Isaac Jones is the one guy who's definitely stepping through and saying, "Hey, I think I'm ready to be part of this." And I don't know what that means long term, but at least initially, it's intriguing.
I've been putting this off
Uh-oh.
because I don't want to admit it. And maybe I'm wrong here. And you're very good at talking me off these ledges, which is great. The official Colby Jones fan club is deeply concerned. Yeah, the Chatty House was talking about it, so we gotta bring it up. Colby Jones, not awesome in the summer league. Starts out his first preseason game in 16 minutes, 1 of 6 from the field. He did dish out 3 assists and he pulled down a rebound, but he had a couple of turnovers. He had just 2 points. He was a -10 in his 16 minutes. I'm a little bit afraid that the corner turn for Colby Jones might not be coming.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you're going to put him in the G League, and he's going to be down there for a good portion of the season. I think, we're seeing very clearly that Mason Jones seems to have elevated himself past Colby Jones. And again,
which is a problem.
It's a problem, but it's also, it's not super fair to Colby because Colby's like 22 years old.
22, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a second-year player that spent most of his first year in the G League. And then Mason is a guy who played 3 years in the league, went to Europe, came back. Like, that's kind of like Mason Jones' path. He's older. He's more mature. He understands now, that your spot in the NBA is not guaranteed and how difficult it is to leave and come back and all that stuff. Like, there is something to, like, the way that Mason Jones has got back to the point that he's at right now, where he's vying for rotational spot or a roster spot. I think Colby, the one good thing that he has going for him is he's part of the test pilot project for the second round pick, where he's on the second round pick exception. And he not only is a league minimum player his first 2 years, but then they have like super bottom basement, like third and fourth years where they have team options. Like, he's got to figure it out. He's got to figure it out very quickly.
Boy.
But there are things that he does that I love. Like, his hands are so quick. And not only that, but he'll go up someone will go up for a rebound. He'll fly from the other side and smack the ball out of bounds. And you think, okay, well, was that meaningful or does that matter? And it does, because now the whole defense is set up because they've got to go inbound the ball because Colby Jones got his hand, punched it out, did whatever he had to do to like slow things down. And he's crafty and he does have a good feel for the game. We're just not seeing it play out in a way that I think anyone thought we would. Like, I think you all thought he would be like further along in his path at this point. And maybe he finds his way back.
And that's kind of that's why I even bring it up, because, and again, by the time the fourth preseason game rolls around, Colby Jones is not going to be a huge part of the conversation. But I was expecting in his rookie year, he just looked so much like the kind of player that just had an idea, knew exactly how to play the game. And you're going, wow, this is a guy who, even if he doesn't turn into a starting caliber player, he's just going to be a rotational player for a long time. He just kind of gets it. He's got great feel. You mentioned all the stuff he does defensively, crashing the glass, doing all those little things. But then offensively, it's just not like, you have to be able to do something. You can't just be a zero offensively.
Yeah, like
and that not progressing, despite the fact he's playing in Stockton and doing all that, it just is. I'm not ready to punt. I'm not punting on Colby Jones.
Okay.
But the fan club is definitely a little concerned. We've started perusing new players to attach ourselves to.
I had this conversation years ago with a player development coach, and it was when the Kings had drafted Ben McLemore 1 year, and then they came back with Nick Stauskas the next year,
Ooh,
and it was someone
go
who,
blue.
yeah, it was someone who had been working with these two players like nonstop, and I said, "What do you think?" Like, like he goes, "I don't know, either one of them are going to make it." He's like, "But if I were betting on one, I would put my money on Stauskas." And I'm like, "Okay, why?" He's like, "Well, tell me what Ben McLemore's elite skill is." And I'm like, "Athleticism?" He's like,
Jumping.
he's like, "That's not an elite skill." He's like, "Can he pass? Is he a great rebounder? Can he shoot? Like, what is it that he does? Is he a ball handler? Like a guy who just can dribble and set up an offense? Like, what is it he does?" And I'm like, "Okay, you're probably right." He's like, "Nick Stauskas at least comes into the league with one elite skill, and that is he is a great shooter." Now, the fact that Nick Stauskas walked into the NBA and like it got in his head, and I think he let some of the veterans get in his head, specifically one person, but I'm not going to get into that. Like really like shake his confidence, and then he couldn't shoot
No, let's
anymore.
get into that.
No, well, I mean, like
That's fine. I'm joking. I'm joking with you. Go on.
Yeah, there are players that the Kings have had who are really hard on rookies and second year young players for a long time. And Nick Stauskas kind of got eaten up by that and lost his confidence and then couldn't shoot anymore. This is one of the like literally one of the most confident kids I've ever been around. Like the levels to his like cockiness off the court were like jarring, like really, really jarring. You're like, okay, dude, you're like, he's
okay, Nick.
Yeah, he was a shoot your shot guy, and you're like, bro, what is happening? Like, and weird, like, anyway, there was such a confidence level. I always like, I know this is too old for you, but like, there's a movie with Corey Haim called License to Drive. Spectacular,
Of course,
absolutely amazing movie where he fails his driving test and he's supposed to go out on a date with this with Heather Graham, this beautiful girl at school, but he failed his driver's test, so he ends up taking his grandfather's car anyways and sneaking out. Anyway, there's a scene where when he's taking his test, the DMV, he slams his hand on the computer because he knows he's failing, and all of the power goes out, and so they think he passes. So they take a picture of him, and like his license to drive, his driver's license is him making this ridiculous smirk. It just reminded me of Nick Stauskas all the time. He just like had this confidence to him, and then you break him. And so again, to get back to Colby Jones, like it's okay to be a jack of all trades, master of none in the NBA. But there has to be at least one skill that you have that is really close to elite. And I'm not sure what that is yet for him. And that's a really tough thing, because I look at him and it's like, hey man, 10 pounds of muscle. Like he looks tremendous, like all of the Kings young players. And the problem is, how do you translate that to the basketball court? How do you not just be a guy who knocks the ball out of bounds? Like, how do you be like a functional member of what's happening? And I think, again, like Isaac Jones, instantly you're like, oh my goodness. Like we don't know what his elite skill is yet, but I think it like he proved that he can shoot the ball. He's got this crazy wingspan. Like you're hoping he can be really good defensively. You're hoping for some of these things, but you also see an outline of a player who stands out. Like the second you watch him on the court, you're like, oh, look at the way he moves. Look at the way he's flowing in the offense. Look how he's in position, or, he's rotating and getting somebody's guy cutting to the basket. And the rotations were so bad by the Kings. I watched Isaac Jones go and rotate and cut somebody else's man off so many times, and then no one got his man on the corner for the wide open corner three. So there are like pieces to a player there that you can see, and you're like, okay, what does he look like in 2 years? What does he look like in 3 years? And maybe the Kings have found another like Keon Ellis caliber player, not another Keon Ellis, but another caliber of player like Keon Ellis. And that's what you have to have if you're a team that has expensive players.
This is the Insiders. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube, breaking down the Kings. 122-112 preseason loss to the Golden State Warriors last night at Golden One Center. The Kings and Warriors face off again tomorrow out at Chase Center in San Francisco. Isaac Jones, where are we going? Oh, okay. I have a couple things that I want to get to here. First of all, who do you think that if the person you were talking to behind the scenes yesterday, the mysterious person, I was going to make a Watergate joke,
Okay.
but I'm not going to call the person.
Yeah,
I'm not going to call the person that they called him in water. I'm not going to do that because that would be insane to do on the radio in 2024. So that person said a couple of these young guys are going to play. If we've circled Isaac Jones as one, is there another player that you've definitely got your eye on? Or was that person just saying in general a couple when really it could just mean the one?
Yeah, I think it probably could just mean one, but I also think like Mason Jones is a guy who's like on the cusp of being, again, you're looking at a guy who's 6'5", 6'5", 6'6", long wingspan, plays with a really, really big energy. And so that's one guy. I think, again, Boogie Ellis came in. And when you're watching a player who, realistically undrafted, like he's part of the main roster, but like, I don't know what that means because like whether they keep him or not, there's a good chance they don't keep him. And that they've got to find a way for him to get to the G League, and it's almost got to be on a 2-way contract, just because of financials and everything else. So you're trying to figure out like what does he look like, but he steps on the court and instantly starts throwing up laser beam threes, and you're like, ooh, like look at the confidence, look at the way that he hustles on defense, the way that he's physical, and so that's a kid that I think like instantly jumps off the page, and then Isaiah Crawford is the other guy, right?
Yeah.
And Isaiah Crawford has sort of that, I don't know, like he has an NBA body that teams are looking for. The what is it? Isaac Okoro body, that like even like I'll point out like Chima Moneki last year for the Kings. Chima like he was built like a guy who can play the 2, the 3, and the 4, and like the Lou Dort style of body that that teams I think are looking for, and you're always looking for like the diamond in the rough, a guy with a big wingspan, a guy who brings energy and stuff like that. So there's an interesting crop of young players here in Sacramento that you didn't kind of expect because again, the Kings drafted the 12th or 13th pick, and then they didn't have another pick. They traded away their second rounder, and they went out and they like sort of did the deep research that they did the year before when they found Keon Ellis. And so I'm intrigued at least by a lot of these guys.
Golden State went 28 of 52 from 3 last night. You mentioned this earlier on in the show. If that was a regular season game, it would have been the franchise record for made threes in a game.
Yes.
Are we looking into this at all? Because this was a little bit of a problem for the Kings at times last season, where any team would come in, whether they were good or bad at shooting threes, and they would immediately become a 43% three-point shooting team. Are we looking into this at all? Because I know that Golden State had some guys like Jonathan Kuminga is not probably going to be 4 of 7 every night. Draymond, I think, hit a couple. That's not something he's going to do every night. But also there were a lot of like open looks and pretty good looks. Is that something that concerns you at this point, or are you writing this off as preseason game 1?
I'm writing most of it off as preseason game 1. Again, for a team to hit 28 threes, 28 of 52.
Well, they got 52 of them up.
Yeah, I think, again, what I didn't want to hear is the Kings mention, well, we did a good job of being physical without fouling. You see, they only took 13 free throws or whatever. It's like they only took 13 free throws because they shot 52
They were never in the paint.
Yeah, like what did they shoot? 44. They had 44 makes, and of the 44 makes, 28 were 3-pointers. 52
3-pointers, 30 2-pointers.
That's all they took. Yeah, and then
30
makes,
shots from 2-point range.
Yeah, and makes, I think they only had 16 makes that weren't threes.
16 of 30 from 2.
Yeah, so no, that's a problem. But
yeah,
again, I think it's rotations and it's the fact that the Kings played. I mean, my bigger concern isn't the second half when the Warriors kept shooting threes, and not only did the Warriors keep shooting threes, but like Podziemski, Looney, Kuminga, they're all in the game forever. Buddy Hield, they were all in the game like all the way through the third and part of the fourth quarter. So the Kings are out there running like what will be remnants of their G League squad, but the first half was a problem, and the Kings couldn't get separation. I was impressed that the Kings were hanging in there because I think the Warriors hit 15 threes in the first half, and that's your starting group. That's not okay. And there were way too many open looks, and just rotations were slow and all that stuff. Rotations were slow, but also rotations were confused by young players in the second half.
Yeah.
So a problem.
The Buddy Hield revenge game was tough.
Yeah. He did
get so annoying. I'm already annoyed, bro. You have no idea. Now I gotta go, oh, look at 6 or 7. Yeah, no, he can shoot. He can shoot the leather off the basketball for sure.
Yes.
Everybody knows this. He is one of the very best shooters in the league.
Ever.
I don't expect him to be that impactful night in and night out.
Yeah, I mean, for everything that, like, for the jokes we make about Buddy Hield and everything else, it's like, look, I was around Buddy for years. So, I mean, like, the accumulation of things that I dealt with Buddy Hield, but his ability to shoot the ball has never, ever, ever, ever been in question. His decisions to shoot the ball sometimes you can question, like up 6 with 48 seconds left and there's 22 seconds on the clock and you're shooting a 32-footer. Yeah, probably like the best way to get like removed from a ball game that I've ever seen. But like just the pure, like he's a workaholic and he is so focused on making the three. Like he is one of the great 3-point shooters of all time. There's no question.
Isn't he top 10? I think he's top 10 all time in made threes. Is that right? Top 25, maybe?
If he's he's top 25 for sure. But like when he's done, he'll be one of the great 3-point shoot, like all time makes. He'll be in the top 5 or 6, most likely.
He is 22nd all time in made threes.
Okay,
and by the end of this year, he'll probably be in the top 15.
Yeah, the top 15, and then he can move up quickly from there because you're going up against a lot of guys who are no longer in the league at that point. You're just kind of
totally insane.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I mean, the fact that he had the most 3-point makes after his second, his third, and his fourth years in the league ever. Like no fourth-year player had ever had that many makes in their career to that point. He's a great shooter.
Yeah,
can't leave him open.
All right. Let's get to. We're gonna do mad props next with the Kings' next preseason game and the 49er game. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun with it. Mad props. We'll bring in Jesse Tapia for that as well. And salute to Jesse for running the board today. Really appreciate that, man. We'll do that. We'll have some keys to a 49ers victory, and then we'll have the handoff where I'm sure we'll get back to the Kings. Plenty coming up in the final segment. He's James. I'm Kyle. Jiffy Lube's a sponsor here on ESPN 1320, Sacramento Sports Leader. I'm Kyle Madsen. He's James Ham. Jiffy Lube is our sponsor. And we got some puns for you because there's no need to be scared of auto maintenance this October. Yeah, it might be spooky season, but not at Jiffy Lube. Your local Jiffy Lube has just the treats you need without the tricks like fast oil changes, wiper blades for the upcoming rainy season. Of course, get those tires rotated, get your brakes checked. Jiffy Lube will do all of that just for you.
Yeah, Kyle talked about it earlier. We're starting to see that time of year where the weather changes. It's going to get cold. It's going to get rainy. Rainy season's just around the corner. Jiffy Lube's been serving the greater Sacramento area since 1984. They have over 30 convenient locations to choose from. They're one of the highest rated auto maintenance providers in the area. Check out their Google ratings online for yourself.
The best part about Jiffy Lube for me is somebody with a long commute is they open early, 7:30 a.m. Most of their locations open past 6 p.m. I can go after work. I can go before work, and you can do the same. Maybe you work that 9 to 5. Get in there. They will get you. They're open at 7:30. They will get you in and out in time to get to your shift.
That's right. Visit jiffylube.com to find a location near you and valuable coupons to save money too.
jiffylube.com.
All right, we're good.
Thanks, Jesse. My screen went away right at the end there.
What's going on, everybody?
James and I are going to write a Just Ram It remix called Lube It. My name's Kyle, and I'm here to say that I'm going to lube it every day.
Lube it. Everybody, let's lube it. Oh, no. Yeah, Jose, I'm totally intrigued to see what he becomes. Like, he's a good kid too. I like him.
Nah, Warren.
I also want to bring up this Magic Man. They didn't draft Thomas Robinson because of his story. They drafted Thomas Robinson like foolishly. First and foremost, because Dion Waiters somehow went from like the 24th best prospect in the draft to not working out for anyone to a top 4 pick and pushed Thomas Robinson to the Kings. But the other problem the Kings had was that Jeff Petrie had gone to the Maloofs and asked for money to sign Jason Thompson or another power forward, and they wouldn't guarantee him that. And he didn't have another power forward on the roster, and so he drafted power forward number 5 overall instead of Damian Lillard, who I was told the night before they were actually going to select. So, tough look. But the year before, they had also drafted Jimmer and Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas had played extremely well, and they weren't ready to give up on Jimmer yet. So drafting another point guard was going to be a little bit of a sketchy situation.
I am in San Francisco today because I'm doing Niners postgame stuff.
There we go.
And I have to do that from our San Francisco studios. And so instead of driving all the way to Roseville and then all the way to San Francisco, I just do it all from here. Salute to everybody, James, Jesse, and all the engineers that allow me to do this and not have to be in the car for 7 hours or however long I'd be in the car. It's not 7. It's not that many. That's dramatic.
Steven Castaneda. I did watch a little bit of the starting 5 last night, but not like super close eye. I had a long day yesterday.
I'm really excited. I read Katie Baker's. Katie Baker is the best, by the way. I read her takeaways piece in the Ringer, and apparently Domas's wife is a real hoot. So I can't wait to
sweet
to tap in. Yeah,
she's always been very nice. Every time I've sort of ran into her. There was a moment his first year where, or maybe it was early second year, where he was playing with his son on the sidelines, and I took a couple of pictures, and then I think like her sister was there, and I said, "Hey, I don't put pictures of players' families up, but I'd like to send you guys these," and I sent them a whole bunch of pictures.
That's nice. That's nice of you to do that. Most people would have posted that shit. Like, I'm getting the clout. Hi, everyone. It's the Insiders. Sponsored by Jiffy Lube. I gotta do better. I gotta be better. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're all good. We're just gonna dive into mad props. Yeah. Let's just do that. We're gonna get into this. Jesse, are you able to jump on where I can I hear you now?
Yeah, right.
Oh, look at that. Look at us go. All right. Yeah. So we've got mad props. What we're going to do, we've been doing the 49ers and Raider games, but this is more what the bid is supposed to be. It's supposed to be 2 different sports matched up. So because we have a Kings preseason game tomorrow, we're going to do the 49ers game tonight and the Kings preseason game on Friday. Does that make sense?
Sounds like a plan.
So I made up 2 props. We're going to stack them together, and we got to pick which one is going to be higher. Jesse, we'll start with you. Brock Purdy completions or De'Aaron Fox minutes on Friday?
I'm gonna go.
De'Aaron played how many minutes De'Aaron played last night?
He played 19.
19 minutes last
Yeah.
night.
I'm gonna go Brock Purdy completions. I don't feel great about it, but I figured tonight's gonna be a little high scoring, so I'm gonna go Brock Purdy completions.
Okay, James.
I'm gonna go De'Aaron Fox minutes. I
Oh,
think.
how many do you think they're gonna ratchet him up to?
They are gonna play in the third quarter, so I'm gonna say Fox is gonna finish with like 24, 25 minutes. And I don't know.
Can I change my answer?
Yeah.
If Fox is playing into the third quarter, I'll go Fox minutes too.
Oh.
I wasn't sure if this was the
Wow.
first half situation here or whatever.
I'm sticking with Purdy completions.
Whatever, you're gonna be wrong on Monday, pal.
I can't wait. I think Fox is probably in the 24-minute range. I think the Niners are still going to throw it a lot, but I think you're going to see Purdy making a concerted effort to get the ball out because him running around is just not as often as he has been a way to produce offense. And I think you're going to see a lot more checkdowns, a lot more short throws, a lot more him just getting rid of the ball instead of trying to extend plays and either throw it away or take a sack or scramble for 3 yards. So I think they're going to throw it a lot, and I think you're going to see Brock with a ton of completions. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I think they're going to have to throw it because I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the Seahawks on offense.
So you don't think we're going to see the 77-yard run for Brock Purdy that actually only works out for 8-yard plus gain?
We might see it once or twice, but it felt like that was a focal point of their offense, and that's just not. I don't think that's going to continue.
Okay,
especially on a short week. Number 2, James, this one's for you. Brandon Ayuk receiving yards, or oh no, this is I have this. Let's just do Kings first half total.
Oh, I'm gonna go Ayuk. I think you're right that this is gonna be a bit of a crazy passing game, and I think Ayuk will get. I think he'll be in the 80s for the game, like 83 yards sticks out, maybe a little bit more, but I definitely think that the Kings are not going to score that many points in the first half.
Yeah, I'll take Ayuk too. This one feels easy.
Yeah, I'm right there. This is one of those ones that the ceiling for Ayuk is like, what do you have last week? 147 yards. Like that's definitely on the table. But I'm with you, James. I think it's probably in the 75 to 80 range. And as good as the Kings offense is or can be, I'm not totally sure they're going to get there given the nature of the game. So I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk receiving yards as well. The next one, Jesse, Deebo Samuel targets or DeMar DeRozan field goal attempts.
Give me Deebo
Samuel. 6 for 6.
Deebo Samuel targets.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, he probably get around 9 targets or so.
I think they're going to let these guys play a little bit, and I'm going to go DeMar DeRozan.
Man, this is good. I make these up and I don't have a good answer ready. I think you're going to see, I think it's going to be Deebo Samuel targets. I think part of the short throws is going to be, Purdy looking more for Ayuk for Samuel. He got 3 targets and 1 catch last game. I went back and looked. Every time he's had a slow game, they typically try and feed him in the next one. And I think that we're going to see the Kings start to I think 6-7 field goal attempts is probably about what DeMar DeRozan's looking at. And I think Deebo might get 8, 9, 10 targets. So I'm going to go Deebo targets for that one. James, 49ers sacks. So this is sacks made by the 49ers defense or Domantas Sabonis 3-point attempts.
Oh man. He didn't take a single one.
Yeah, I didn't take any threes.
But then I don't trust the Niners to get more than 2 sacks. I am going to go, for the sake of the bit, I'm going Sabonis.
I love that for you. I really love that for you, Jesse.
I'll go 49ers sacks. Sabonis might take 1, but we'll go 49ers get at least 2, I think.
Yeah, that's why I'm going Niners too. Even if Sabonis does step out and take a couple, it's probably 2. Like that's probably the max that we're leaning on, right?
I think he's going for 6. No, I don't think he's going
incredible.
For 6.
If he almost takes 6, yeah, that'll be solid.
I would love that. That's what I want. I would love to see that. I would be very happy if that's the case. Jesse, up next.
Yeah, sounds right.
Jawan Jennings receiving yards or Warriors 3-point percentage. They're
That's a tough one, Kyle.
52.8.
Yeah, Juwan wasn't great. Wasn't great. Just wasn't targeted a lot last week. I'm gonna go Warriors 3-point percentage again.
Yeah, that's where I'm rolling too.
Yeah.
James?
Yeah, I believe I'm sticking there too.
Yeah, even if they shoot 41%, I just don't think I don't think this is a game where they're going to get Jennings involved a ton. He might go for a couple catches, 36, 37 yards. But this one's I think it's going to be close either way. So, but I'm going Golden State 3-point percentage. Last one, Geno Smith passing yards, James, or total points scored in the Warriors Kings game.
Oh, I'm going Geno. I think this is going to be, he's going to sling it.
Me too. Jesse?
Yeah, give me Geno.
Yeah.
I think Geno will be near 300, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to put the ball up a ton. I'm going that way too.
He might throw the ball 50 times.
Yeah, although they're talking this week about getting Kenneth Walker more involved in the run game. I think they ran it 7. They had 7 designed runs last week in like 68 offensive plays or something insane like that. I think they're going to make a really concerted effort to get Kenneth Walker involved, but still, I think I don't love this Niners defense, and I still think even if Geno's not putting it in the air 50 times, I still think he gets to like 260, 270.
Yeah,
and that's just, anyways.
Okay,
that's where I'm at. So we're all rocking with that. We're all the same on the Ayuk receiving yards and Kings first half total, and then we're all the same on the last 2. I don't love that for me and making these up, but yeah, okay, that's fine.
I just have to make.
We'll do better moving forward. It's tough. It's tough with the preseason. Yeah. Make them a little harder next week. That's mad props. We will revisit those on Monday. Jesse, thank you for popping in there. James, do you want you want to do Niners keys to victory?
Yeah,
just while we're here, while we're talking some football. Okay, great. Let's get to keys to victory for the San Francisco 49ers tonight in a massive game against the Seattle Seahawks. A game if the 49ers want to stick around, if they want to make this season interesting, they've got to win it. I'm calling it a must-win game. I know technically it's not, but it is. If we're being realistic, if we're being adults about it, this is a must-win game for the San Francisco 49ers. James, what is your first key?
My first key is do not let DK Metcalf get loose. This dude is an absolute beast, and if you get him out in the open field and let him muscle his way around, I think it could be a long night for the 49ers.
Yeah, Travarius Ward has done a really nice job with DK Metcalf the last few times they've played. But, man, he's so big, he's so fast that he could go for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, even if he only catches 3 of his 7 targets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Terrell Owens, just like when he has the ball, like no one, you can't tackle him. He's just like, the dude hasn't missed like upper body workout day in like a decade.
Yeah, he exercises for sure. Yeah, 28 catches, 421 yards, 2 touchdowns for DK Metcalf this year. Yeah, man, it's just a focal point of their offense. Jackson Smith and Jigba, really good player. Tyler Lockett, still a good player. Kenneth Walker, outstanding player. But it's DK, man. If he's going off, the Seahawks are really, really tough to stop. Number 1 for me, I need Brock Purdy to be more of a game manager.
Oh.
I know that's such a negative term. You hear this quarterback's a game manager. He's just, I know that's so negative, but it's part of the game. Like, it's part of the position. Every quarterback ever, all the great quarterbacks, Tom Brady managed so many games where it's just, you're in a spot where just don't take a negative play. Take your 5-yard completion and move on. I need Purdy to do more of that, because while the running around is fun, and oh man, every once in a while it turns into a big play, it also turns into a sack too often, or a run for 2 yards when there was a completion for 6 when he hit the top of his drop and he just didn't take it. So I need Brock to manage this game a little more and to stop turning the dang ball over. Doing that too often too.
Yeah, I think that goes with my next key, which is he needs to sling it. Like this, he needs to throw for 300 yards or close to it. And for me, yeah, he needs to be better at keeping the ball. He needs to not turn the ball over. He needs to stop with the silly interceptions or the fumbles that, like, hey man, like, you should have seen that guy coming. So I'm hoping that we see him clean that up a little bit, but at the same time, like, he needs to go out there and be a star. And like, this is a time. Your team is 2-3 on the season. If you can't turn it around right now, this thing's gonna spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Yeah, but doing that again, I'm right there with you. He has to be good for sure. But all of that comes down to those two keys go hand in hand. He has to just manage the game better.
Yeah,
like push the ball downfield for sure. But man, when Kittle's open for 8 yards, instead of just hit that instead of standing around waiting for something to get open deep. Number 2 for me, you need a 180 in the red area. 40.9% in the red area this year, converting their red zone trips to touchdowns. Not going to cut it. That would have been 31st in the NFL last year. They are abominable in the red zone. They need to be better there. 1 for 6 last week, 1 for 5 in goal to go situations. Kyle Shanahan has to be better with play calling there. They need to be better with execution in the red area. So I would like to see that start tonight. It's going to be tough on a short week, but all these good players, a coach like Kyle Shanahan, who's supposed to be this offensive guru, that's plenty to figure it out. If they're not scoring touchdowns tonight, they're not winning.
Yeah, God bless Tom Brady and his red area comments. Like, the Kings, the 49ers need to score more in the red area. That's for sure.
They do.
They do. I think my final key is to the 49ers need to find their defensive identity. Like, this whole like rudderless thing that we're seeing where they can't get off the field on third down and they don't, it's like boom or bust. Like, figure it out. Like, there's too much.
Last turnover, last one for me. Got to win the turnover battle.
Win it all 3 phases.
All 3 phases. Yeah, no, but seriously, with the turnover stuff, the 49ers again this year, and this goes for a lot of teams, but with San Francisco this year, when they lose or tie the turnover battle, they're 0-3. And when they win the turnover battle, they're 2-0.
Oh, that's science. Hey, look
it's
who
that
we got.
Easy. Yeah, Kenny Caraway in the building. It is time for the handoff. Kenny, we've got keys to a 49ers victory tonight real quick, and then I want to talk some King stuff with you. James got don't let DK Metcalf get loose.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you hear him, Kyle?
Yep, I hear him fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Kenny,
you got me?
I hear you. I hear you guys good, man. I'm with that. Don't let DK get loose. I like what you say, the turnover battle. The Niners are tied for second worst in the league right now with turnovers. They turned the ball over 8 times. The worst team in the NFL has turned it over 9 times.
Yeah.
Where are you at with their red area scoring?
You gotta be better in the red area.
So I am a disciple, and I'm a child of basketball child, that is, of Huey Brown in the painted area. So I appreciate the red area. I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
right,
man.
Yeah. See, you see how he gets in the painted area there. So yeah, I like Tom Brady saying, you see how they get in the red area and they've got to convert. So I'm with it.
Real quick, Will need an IV. Same. Asked if you missed Dodgers talk. Actually, yeah, you did. We said some nice things about the Dodgers and you missed it. That's a tough scene.
And look, Will, I mean, it's like I said in Little Big League, right? When the scene I talk about in Little Big League all the time, where the old guy, the old veteran is probably like 3 of 55, and he gets a hit. And then the little kid who's the manager says, look, he got a hit. I told you, that's the one that starts it off. And then the guy looks at him and says, the fact that you're getting excited about this probably tells you everything you need to know. That's how it is with the Dodgers. Look, did I miss Dodger talk? Yeah, let's go. You forced the game 5. You didn't even win the series. The fact that you're getting excited about this, it tells you everything you need to know. This is not a team that's winning the World Series.
That's right.
Winning 8-0 in a bullpen game's crazy.
Yeah, come on, man.
That was wild.
Look,
I love baseball so much.
And they won the bullpen.
Baseball so much.
They won the bullpen game, and they still got another game they got to win. What they gonna do now?
Dave Roberts last night was like, "Yeah, I might just do it again. We're super efficient. Might just run it back." The other thing we were saying about the 49er game though is I need Brock to be more of a game manager. What do you think about that?
Man, there's so many moving parts with this game, because I know, Kyle, you've probably watched the game. You see so many breakdowns.
Mhm.
There are things that go both ways, right? Like sometimes Brock should check it down and be more of a game manager. Sometimes those guys aren't getting open. Sometimes it's the right defense that's being called. Sometimes the others, the offensive line, the receivers, whatever, aren't doing their jobs on the blocks. So yeah, probably a little bit more of a game manager, but I need the main thing is everybody's got to do their job. Like, because there was at least 5 instances that I've seen from like all 22 films and stuff like that where right play call was made, right decision by Brock, right, Deebo Samuel making a catch. If they block, he gets into the end zone or stuff like that. So everybody's got to be on their job. And there's times when Brock missed, like the pass to Juwan Jennings before the half, where he didn't lead him towards the end zone and went towards the sideline and goes out of bounds. Like, you lead him towards the end zone, that's a touchdown too. So everybody needs to do their job.
Yeah,
all right,
for sure. We've talked a lot of Kings today, obviously. Overall thoughts from last night's game?
Oh man, I was excited. I was excited about that offense. Seeing DeMar DeRozan, I mean, this guy just a bucket getter, man.
Isn't
Come
he?
on, man.
It's
He's just
so
a
crazy.
bucket getter.
That wasn't even like, man, they're designing plays and he's just wide open. Like, they were in his jersey, hand in his face. 6'10" guy, bucket. 6'3" guy, bucket. It was crazy.
It didn't matter, man.
It's ridiculous.
The mid-range is crazy. His pace is crazy. Like, you can't speed him up. You can't get him off his spot. He's one of those guys where we talk about it a lot. If he gets to his spot, it's a bucket. We saw this a lot, and it's interesting that, this is what we see from DeMar DeRozan, because he's a disciple of a guy like this. But we saw it with Colby. Like, Colby wouldn't do a whole lot of flashy stuff later in his career. It was 1-2, I'm gonna get to the nail and I'm gonna pull up. And if you let me get to the nail, I'm not gonna miss. And that's where DeMar is right now.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. You're watching him. He plays at his own pace, but he clearly knows that he needs to play faster. Like, we're not seeing a whole bunch of dribbling. We're seeing him like make quick decisions, but he just, like, that's who he is. We're gonna like be able to appreciate someone who's so good at their craft at doing one very specific thing. And I'm here for it. Like, I think he adds a whole nother wrinkle to this offense.
That offense is going to be dynamic. That offense is going to be dynamic. Top 5 offense in the game this year. What that turns into, maybe they're bottom 5 defensive team and it balances out. I don't know. But I know that offense is going to be a top 5 offense in the game.
I agree.
Yeah. And the Warriors might be number 1 because they're going to make 29 threes a night.
They're going to shoot 53% for the season. Yep. This is the handoff. Kenny Caraway of D-Lo and KC joining the Insiders now. D-Lo and KC coming up next, taking you till 4 o'clock. That was one of the things that really jumped out to me last night was their pace, not just in grabbing a rebound and getting up the floor, but once they got into their half-court offense, it's really clear, like, they're still figuring some stuff out. And the pace, though, was just, it was so fluid. And if they're gonna play at that pace and that speed with the amount of weapons they have, it's going to be really, really hard for defenses to keep up. Where even if a defense is doing something right, there's a lot of guys who are going to go get a bucket.
And the word fluid that you just used was perfect. And then there's another dynamic to this whole thing is if Domantas Sabonis is comfortable and willing to take mid-range pull-ups, maybe even step back to behind the arc or whatever the case may be, that's just gonna. I'm telling you, this team's tough to guard. Like, and we didn't even get into, the Kevin Huerters, the Trey Lyles, when those guys come in and what that might look like, and Jordan McLaughlin and the way he can spread the defense with the way he can shoot the 3 ball. I mean, they've got offensive weapons all over the place, in their top 8 or 9 guys.
Yeah, I love that play that we saw where they just kept like setting like fake screens, and Sabonis just looped all the way around the top of the arc, took it right to the rim and jammed it. Yeah. And you're watching it like, oh my gosh, like the wrinkles, or the Keegan Murray splashing to the middle of the key and Sabonis throwing it over the top for the catch and layups. like, oh, that's a new wrinkle. Like there's so many new wrinkles.
Mhm.
And the thing about it, and we saw this so many times with the Warriors and what they did, it wasn't even like, not just last night, but over the history of the, this era of the Warriors. It wasn't somebody coming down and calling a play. It was just,
Mhm.
this is the action of the offense. Like,
Yeah,
this
they
is
didn't run a
just-
single play set.
This is just what we do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's super encouraging and impressive.
Yeah, De'Aaron was taking a back seat last night.
That's it.
He didn't even
did
he didn't even get that involved. That's crazy.
Did he take did he take the most shots? He had 10. He was 5 of 10, right?
I think he did take the most shots,
Yeah.
even though it didn't
And
feel
it
like
didn't
it.
feel, that's what I was about to say. It didn't feel like it at all. It felt like he was just coasting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
coasting and got it easy. What he ended up with 11 or something like that. And they did all that in a half. Like,
Yep.
Man, they got
signs.
They got weapons.
Yeah, definitely good
Good
signs.
signs for sure. What do you guys got coming up?
More on the Kings game. It's
Yep.
not Friday, but it's a 49er Friday, Thursday night football edition.
Mhm.
Big game, man. Big game tonight. It's not a must
Huge.
win. It's not the
Yeah.
season on the line. Nah, because the division is what it is, man. Like, even if you
We gotta
lose,
go.
it'll be all right. So,
All right. That's Kenny Caraway. Kenny and friends today?
D'Lo will be here eventually. Yeah,
Okay, very good.
He's gonna be
D'Lo
from
and
the crib.
Casey.
He's gonna be from the crib. He'll be here eventually.
D'Lo and Casey eventually. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. Back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Until then, drink water. Be nice, people. Bye.